Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Once again, I'm Ned from Tech. That's otherwise known as your friendly neighborhood basement dweller. Don't worry, ma'am, I am from the internet. There was a gas leak in the house. My folks woke me up and were like, "Oh, we got a gas leak. We got get out of here." Calling the fire department. Fire department comes. And they're like, "Get out of here!" And now I'm in the shed. Actually, I'm just kind of warming this up for Mom. She's in the car. She hasn't kind of fully accepted what's happened yet. There's someone from the gas place is coming to check it out. The fire department's already been here and they're just like, stay out. Thank goodness this didn't happen a week ago when it was like minus 13 and whatever, right? But anyways, what I want to talk about, as I'm sitting back here, my parents are in the vehicle. They'd rather be in there. It's a lot harder to get Mom out here. But anyways, I hope she's going to come back here. I hope they get the house opened up. What I want to talk about is the deep web, I forget, the Deepseek, the deep whatever, LLM, that has everyone terrified right now, has me a little bit perturbed with the investor community, because the investor community is the only community that the financial people care about. They don't care about anyone else. Bay Street, Wall Street will be the last streets in Canada and in the States. Zombies will take over everything, and then they'll come for those streets. Because those streets are the only place where people who can actually see where the money goes will look at. They don't care about what goes on Queen Street, Toronto anymore. I'm sorry, guys, I don't know any New York streets. I know Manhattan. I know Manhattan. Everyone's looking about Manhattan. You get Queens, when everyone's like, oh, I'm not so sure about Queens compared to Manhattan. Everyone prefers Manhattans. And then the Bronx. Yeah. Anyways, so China lies. China fucking lies. Okay? It's what it does. And it's a survival method. And I don't blame them one little bit if you're dealing with a nation like the United States. Legitimately, China could want to stay on its own and do everything it could to stay on its own. And the rest of the world would beat the crap out of it and force China to do what it wanted to do. And it has in the past, just the same way as a pimp would try to find a girl from a bad place and beating the crap out of her, and then expecting this girl to work for him, to love him, to do his stuff. That's legitimately what happened in the Opium Wars. And I don't like talking about this stuff. I don't like talking about colonialists, this, that, and the other thing. But the fact is, we screwed China up as colonist powers. Like, I'll never say that I'm guilty as a colonist for anything, but when I think of the level of hells that were because of the Opium Wars, like, I didn't even know about the opium. What I learned about is drugs are bad. These drugs destroyed families. These drugs were opium. These drugs were given to them by who? Whoa, wait, you're saying that where I came from, like, I can understand ransacked. I can understand, there's aspects of war I can understand. There's aspects of wars that are so messed up that we as a people in a Geneva Convention are like, we don't do this stuff. We don't shoot pilots when they're coming out of the skies. We don't shoot medics. We don't blind or deafen indefinitely everyone we have. But guys, we really screwed China up with the Opium Wars. I can't even. So, like, and the fact that they're giving us such problem as they are is totally understandable. The fact that they would need to lie in order to stay ahead is completely understandable. But man, this one's a little bit rough. But basically, they're saying that their AI is best right now, and that's bullshit. I don't believe any of it until I'm right in front of it and seeing it. I don't believe any of it. They're saying that they use old GPUs. I don't fucking believe any of it. And when you're talking old, are you really talking old, or are you talking 10 years old? Which to me, guys, I am doing all of my AI work on mostly 10-year-old power in Canada. It's what we do. We can do it. But also, at the same time, We have globalists who don't care about their country. Do you think NVIDIA cares about the USA? NVIDIA doesn't give two shits. Do you think that guy running the place gives two shits about America? No. Do you think the TikTokers give two? Nobody gives two shits about the country anymore. Not even you. I bet you don't even care about the country anymore. Sometimes when people look at their own flags, they're like, ugh, blah, blah, Nazis, blah. Legitimately. And in that is a hell. Now what I'm saying is TikTok being used by the Chinese is an opiate for us. Now, money is also an opiate. NVIDIA made new CPUs. Okay, so let's talk about, so when you're looking at the news, you're looking at what investors know. These are investors getting scared. The stock market crash we have now because of deep whatever are investors who are scared. The investors who are scared because they hear something in China, but they don't have any idea how much you can't trust what China says. Now, the tech guys who know hardware and know geopolitical politics know that the Chinese lie. We don't want to talk about it because we have so much respect for them, and like, let's face it, they're a powerhouse. They're a powerhouse. But we also know that NVIDIA, since they're globalists, and the globalists don't care about the country, they care about having money, they made the Chinese different GPUs. The same way that the Chinese design different drugs. They take the drug and they change it a little bit so that they can drop it over here. And I shouldn't act like it's their responsibility. We're buying it, right? Like, legitimately, we're buying it. And when I say these things, I'm not trying to down the Chinese people. I love the Chinese people. I hate the CCP. I don't like the CCP, and I think the CCP is horrible for the Chinese people. The Chinese people have a lovely tapestry of history, of culture, and while their ways are different and they're moving into doing things like not using money and using their cell phones, you find if you go to their country and you don't bring your cell phone and you don't have that app, people will help you. The people who make your tea will. The people at the restaurant will say, well, they'll feel bad for you. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Here, you know what? You give me that money and I will pay for it for you. So helpful, so helpful. That is love, and there's a lot to be said about that. And there is no love stronger than the love of a Chinese family. There is nothing stronger than the love of a Chinese family. I am not seeing that level of love over here. I'm not seeing that level of love for countries. So basically, the tech guys, we know China lies about the stuff they get and the things that they do. Chinese are getting advanced chips from NVIDIA and everywhere else because NVIDIA, while its headquarters is in the USA, they are globalists, or whatever words you want to give for people who are more interested in money than they are in the success of their country. Now, we all have to be interested in the success of our country because we have to worry if our children are getting educated, if our sick are getting better, if our old have retirement. If we don't think about these things, then we are monsters. And I tell you one damn thing, the Chinese family's thinking about these things. They absolutely are. But this deep horizon, deep sea, whatever you call it, I forget the name of it at the time, I am appalled that our investors would take this information that they know, and I'm appalled they would take this information. I am freaking appalled that they would take this information and hurt the United States investment scene with it, because Chinaman lie, especially internationally, and I don't blame Chinaman because maybe lying is better than fighting and ending up with a history of opium addiction. Oh, that was dark. Whoa, but like, that's life. We don't want to admit it. We want to be like 14-year-old childhood fantasy where that never happens. But in the 14-year-old childhood fantasies that we follow, if we get the original stories, we find out that Sleeping Beauty was sexually assaulted, that Snow White, I don't want to get demonetized. Like, legitimately, Not only are we living off of a fairy tale, but we have changed that fairy tale to facilitate the 14-year-olds that have now grown into people who are still facilitating a fairy tale, who are more interested. They're not interested in their country. All little girls that grew up, they're not interested in their country. I'm sorry. It just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart. But legitimately, guys, if Wall Street, if you're watching, if you tanked the S&P 500, which has never heard and which has never gone down ever, because of stuff you heard from China, then it really makes me feel like we are adrift in a boat without a rudder, in a sea of chaos, where order is being run by chaos, and that chaos is running order, and that order is being run itself by chaos. Jeez, it's like when I was working in the factory, the information being communicated to the middle wasn't always accurate, because you'd get things like people being more interested in their friends, and people being more interested in people that they could sleep with or have the potential to sleep with in the future. Being able to sleep with someone to men is the same thing as freaking money. Women, figure this out. Men, figure this out. Like, there are some factories that pop up in one town, they're like, yeah, let's hire everyone, everything's golden and everything's wonderful, and you get other factories and other towns that are like, you cannot work here if you are related to anyone who works here, because reasons. Seriously. Nepotism. Nepotism's a big issue. Nepotism's also an issue over in China. But the fact that we let the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, all of these things take a hit because of something a Chinese man said is horrible. There was a Chinese guy I worked with in the office. Not a good one. You get good people and you get bad people. He was a bad person, not because he was Chinese. And came up to things like, oh, Nevin, Alibaba, how come you never heard of it? You get 2 terabyte USB drives on there for $20. I'm going to get one. And look what you're spending. Aha, for $20 you only get like 8 or something. Aha, China's so much better. So he gets one of these keys in. And then he puts all of his data on it, and then he deletes it from the place it is. And then he realizes that the key's bogus, and the information just kind of overrode itself. Wow. And the last thing that I'll put to you is the Chinese, that man told me about the Chinese crab bucket mentality. A few of us could get out. A few of us could get out if we work together and let some people out. But a lot of us just hate each other so much that we won't let anybody out. So yeah, I wouldn't believe a thing that the Chinese said about Deepseek. I don't, like, as tech guys, we don't believe a thing that NVIDIA says about their benchmarks until, like, our benchmarkers get them, because benchmarkers mess up things. Legitimately, though, if you're an investor and looking into this, there's lots of manipulation when it comes to China, when it comes to NVIDIA, any of the graphics cards, any of the benchmarks. Benchmarks are universally known for being flawed and manipulated by benchmarkers and by manufacturers, okay? So the fact that you guys let this hurt your bottom dollar legitimately makes me know that the people running things have no idea what's going on. And a lot of us should be very concerned, because we have things going on, like in my house. I told my dad that there was a leak, there was a gas leak. I told him weeks ago, and he didn't do anything about it. And I bugged him, and I was like, Dad, you and I are going to have a big fight about this. I know you don't want to believe this, but this is an issue that's going on. It's hurting me, it's hurting you, it's hurting Mom, it's hurting my children. We need to do something about this. If we don't, there's going to be negative consequences. Guys, look where I am. Now, to investors, if you're worried about this, then you have no idea what's going on. And now I kind of feel like I'm in a ship that's being piloted by investors who only care about themselves. And, like, let's face it, topically, these days a lot of people hear that and they're like, yeah, that's the way things go. That's the way things are supposed to go. That's the way things are supposed to go, right? No, they haven't always been like this. They've been kind of like this, mostly like this. The generations that your parents grew up in were fiercely different. They can't even tell you the differences. They can't even tell you. But yeah, That's how I learned to stop worrying about AI being better and start worrying about our investors just being idiots. Have a good one, folks. Take care of each other.